this Olympic hockey final between New Zealand and Australia. New Zealand in the all-white, Australia playing from the right. Meister with the free hit for New Zealand. Christensen, Barry Meister. New Zealand centre forward being blocked by the Australian defence, and a free hit awarded to New Zealand. Paul Ackley, number 1. Just hitting the foot of Barry Meister. Free hit to Australia outside their 25-yard line. Walsh for Australia. Down the left wing he goes. Feeds it inside to Malcolm Poole. Poole still going with the ball over the 25-yard line, laying it on for Ron Riley, but the pass was too fast. Goes over the New Zealand goal line, so play will restart from the 16-yard line. Einarsson restarts for New Zealand. To Meister. Christensen challenged by Paul. Chasing up through the middle is Barry Meister for New Zealand. Boren's there as well. Selwyn Meister for New Zealand. Across to his clubmate from the University Club in Christchurch, John Christensen. The Australians who beat Holland by 2-1. Their semi-final yesterday to make the final. New Zealand had earlier Australia, who beat Pakistan by 2-1, and New Zealand, who had earlier beaten Holland by the same score. Australia in their second Olympic final in 1968 in Mexico. They met Pakistan and were beaten. They took the silver medal. Australia still going into the New Zealand circle, but racing back and covering the situation for New Zealand was Greg Damon. One penalty corner so far in the match has gone to Australia. New Zealand in turn have had one penalty stroke. On both occasions, goals failed to materialise. Chesney with the push-in for New Zealand. The whistle had gone. 9 minutes of play in the first half, and still no score in the match between Australia and New Zealand. Most of the play so far has been in the New Zealand half. Patel takes the free hit for New Zealand. Was not taken on the correct spot, so it will be taken this time by Damon for New Zealand. But the whistle continues to blow. The umpire on the far side of the field is not happy with something, and he is given the free hit and turned to Australia. Whistle goes again to signal a free hit yet once more for New Zealand as play eventually gets underway. Back into the New Zealand half. Back is Einarsson for New Zealand. Slips the pass to Ackley, who's unable to trap the ball cleanly. Haig for Australia. Cross to Trevor Smith on the halfway line. Slips it through to Richard Charlesworth, his inside right. Smith with the ball, disputing possession with Barry Meister. The free hit awarded to New Zealand. And John Christensen coming away with it. Meister inside of him, slips it back to Parkin. Parkin over the 25-yard line in Australian territory. The Australian defence is good. Richard Charlesworth with the headband for Australia, number 2, playing it inside right. Ten minutes of the match gone. Still no score of the match between New Zealand and Australia. The men's Olympic hockey final here at Molson University. And James Irvine with a free hit for Australia. Restarting play from the 16-yard line. Ackley with the push-in. Tight, close marking, his feature of the early minutes of this match, and no real scoring opportunity has resulted from field play yet, as Australia awarded a free hit. Ackley and Walsh disputing possession, but the free hit awarded to Australia. Here's a break by the Australians over the New Zealand 25-yard line. New Zealand defence just a little slow on that occasion as the Australians slipped through a big gap on the right wing of the New Zealand defence. Ackley, Einarsson, cut out by Walsh, but the ball is into touch. Charlesworth with the headband for Australia. Back to Charlesworth on the edge of the New Zealand circle, but cleared well by Patel. Arthur Parker, number 13, back to Patel over the halfway mark in Australian territory. The whistle has gone. Meister will restart play for New Zealand as the pass is cut out and into touch, push into New Zealand. "22 minutes of play remaining in the first half and still no score in the hockey final between Australia and New Zealand. Hammond for Australia. A long ball right up the middle of play, and the New Zealand goalkeeper just lets it go over the goal line, and play will restart from the 16-yard line with Einarsson, the New Zealand captain. Chesney slips a long ball through for Parkin, who come racing across from the left wing. This is Barry Meister, number 10 for New Zealand. The whistle gone, signalling a free hit to Australia. Play, by and large, has been scrappy and loose the opening 12 minutes of this match. And this, I'm sure, will be the pattern for the whole duration. Tight marking is what both these teams are concentrating on at the moment, refusing to allow their opponents to get near the circle. New Zealand defence, which has been good throughout this tournament, they've never conceded more than 2 goals in any one match, except for the match against Pakistan, which of course was a nightmare for New Zealand. And so Australia received their second short corner. New Zealand have not received one so far in the match. This is the second short corner for Australia, as Richard Charlesworth comes across to hit the ball out from the goal line. Corner will be taken by number 14 for Australia, Ron Riley. That was close, and that looked to go over the line. The wait for the referee's decision, but it's no goal. Play will restart from the 16-yard line. Well, that was close for the Australians and the New Zealanders. It appeared to go over the New Zealand goal line, but meanwhile the New Zealanders sweep back into Australian territory. So the score remains at 0-0. That was a close shave for the New Zealanders, as the ball was not stopped cleanly from the penalty corner. Arthur Parkin for New Zealand inside the circle. Loyalty fairly well divided amongst this big crowd here today between Australia and New Zealand. Damon looking for Christensen. The pass cut out by the Australian midfield players. Charlesworth with the ball. Browning. This men's Olympic hockey final, with 90 minutes of play remaining in the first half and still no score. New Zealand start with the free hit. Ball into touch off an Australian stick. Push into New Zealand. Parkin looking for Patel. New Zealand is offside. Barry Meister offside. The free hit to Australia. Australia with free hit on the edge of the New Zealand circle, laying the ball across for Greg Browning down the right wing, but the ball pass was badly directed and a push into New Zealand results. 18 minutes of play remaining in the first half. Still no score in the match between New Zealand and Australia. Patel for New Zealand. Plucked out of the air by Arthur Parkin for New Zealand, but the ball had gone into touch. So far little in the way of skillful hockey to entertain or excite this large capacity crowd of 20,000 watching this hockey final between The two countries from down under, Australia and New Zealand. The first time New Zealand have ever made a hockey final, and the second time for Australia. Their first was in Mexico in 1968. So Australia receive a free hit 10 metres from the New Zealand circle. That's the New Zealand 25-yard line. Into this New Zealand circle. Another free hit awarded to the Australians. Still no score of the match with half the first half completed. Right on the very edge of the New Zealand circle. Selwyn Meister for New Zealand pushes the ball back into touch, and so New Zealand can breathe again. One, Paul Ackerley playing at left back for New Zealand this afternoon. It's Australia who continue to press the New Zealand goal with the free hit taken by Walsh. The referee's whistle blew just as that hit was being taken. It must have been taken from the incorrect spot. So Australia will take the free hit again. Foot outside the New Zealand circle. Dangerous situation for New Zealand. They come away with a free hit. Obstruction by one of the Australian forwards inside the New Zealand circle. Damon looking for Tur-Boran on the right wing, but New Zealanders and the Australians, for that matter too, having trouble still trapping the ball on this new AstroTurf where this final is being played. It's caused players from all countries problems throughout the week, and there's a chance for Australia. And that's a short corner to Australia, their third so far. So Richard Charlesworth for Australia goes out to take the corner. A chance once again for number 9 for Australia. James Irvine has the shot, but stopped well by the New Zealanders. It goes over the goal line, but the Australians will receive a further corner, this time out closer to the touchline. Long corner to Australia as the ball went off a New Zealand stick and over the goal line. Taken by the left wing for Australia. Walsh hits it there for number 9 Irvine, but trapped badly by the Australians, and the New Zealanders come away again. Einarsson restarts from the 16-yard line. Cut out by Christensen. Patel, Ramesh Patel, works his way around one Australian defender over the halfway line. He's got Parkinson on his left. Obstruction on the New Zealanders, a free hit. Pushing it way back, and that's a bad piece of play by New Zealand. The free hit pushed right back by Chesney. New Zealand lost 20 metres at least through that badly taken hit by Alan Chesney. Still in New Zealand territory, Barry Meister. Ackerley looking for Boran. Boran, who scored that marvellous field goal in the match against Holland earlier in the week. Ackerley looking to push the ball through for Patel into the circle, but it ran underneath Ramesh Patel's feet and over the goal line for play to restart from the 16-yard line. Still, we've had no score in the match, with only 14 minutes of play remaining in the first half. Meister again, one of the two Meister brothers in the New Zealand team this afternoon. That's the score with 13 minutes of play remaining in the first half. 0-0. 22 minutes have gone. Damon, Tony Einarsson, who scored the winning goal for New Zealand against Holland in their semi-final. But Australia cutting out some bad passing by New Zealand. The New Zealanders have not been stringing their passes well together as well today as they did in that fine performance against Holland. Australia back inside the New Zealand circle. But a clearing save by number 11, Selwyn Meister for New Zealand. Sticks by Ramesh Patel, free hit to Australia, 26 yards from the New Zealand line. Pushed across for Robert Haig, but he too having difficulty trapping the ball. This has really spoilt this final so far. Einarsson, Selwyn Meister, John Christensen, number 5, a strong, vigorous player at the best of times, and that occasion he was instructed by one of the Australians. He pushed him off the ball. The free hit to New Zealand. And a bad tackle by Ackerley leaves a big gap down the left wing for Robert Haig. Browning looking for Malcolm Paul, but the ball was travelling too fast for Paul to trap. But the Australians have been camped a long time in New Zealand half. New Zealand defence inside this circle has been good so far. The Australians, the slight favourites going into this final because of their fine performances during the week. 2 wins over India and 1 over Pakistan to their credit. Selwyn Meister looking for an unmarked New Zealander and exceeded the maximum time allowed to take a free hit, and the decision is reversed and given to Australia. Browning on the right wing for Australia, heavily marked by 3 New Zealanders. It's Alan Chesney with the push-in for New Zealand with 11 minutes of play remaining in the first half. Still no score in the match. Remember, New Zealand have had one glorious scoring opportunity coming in the 5th minute of play. A penalty strike missed by Ramesh Patel. So Australia with the push-in. Good play by the New Zealanders between Patel and Damon. And it's Greg Damon with the free hit for New Zealand. Looking for Ackerley, but beautifully cut out by Robert Haig for Australia. Over the 25-yard line, slipping it through. Here's a chance for Australia. Trevor Manning coming out of the goal for New Zealand and pushing the ball over the goal line. Trevor Smith for Australia looked dangerous inside the New Zealand circle. Einarsson restarts play for New Zealand. Malcolm Paul looking for Robert Browning on the right wing, but the pass was too hard and it's gone out just a yard from the New Zealand goal line with the push-in to New Zealand. Chesney with the push-in. Parkin trying to make his way down the left wing, but off his stick it goes into touch. John Christensen across to Barry Meister. These two who play for the same club side in Christchurch. Selwyn Meister. No finish by the New Zealanders, and the Australians plenty of time to regroup. Paul pushes it back for Browning. It's been an even close struggle so far as we go into the last 8 minutes of the first half. New Zealand with the push-in inside their own 25-yard line. The Australians who have been mounting a lot of pressure on the New Zealand circle. So once again, play has developed into a scrappy period where these two teams we've seen very little in the way of fluent hockey so far as Charlesworth comes away with Australia into the circle. Unmarked so far by the New Zealanders, and once again the New Zealand defence just a little slow to react. Ramesh Patel, Selwyn Meister. The whistle has gone. Free hit to Australia. taken by James Irvine, number 9. Across to Charlesworth. And Charlesworth looked ominously dangerous for the New Zealanders on that occasion as he ran right through to within 10 yards of the line. 7.5 minutes of play remaining. The first half. Still the Australians deep inside New Zealand half as Barry Maister comes away with it for New Zealand. Support in the form of Christensen on his right. As Ackley works it across to Christensen over the 25-yard line. Good play, good stick work by Christensen as he looks for support inside the circle, but it's not there. Einarson, Selwyn Maister for New Zealand. And been an awful lot of whistle in this match so far, which is 27.5 minutes old. Australia 0, New Zealand 0. Parkin running round the Australian right wing. 0-0 with 6 minutes of play remaining in the first half. Free hit to New Zealand. And it certainly has not been an inspiring final so far. And a few jeers and ironic cheers starting to come from the large crowd now as this light rain continues to fall over the McGill Stadium. This is Ron Riley for Australia. 7 goals to his credit so far in the Olympic competition in Montreal in 1976. Lays it back for Richard Charlesworth. Charlesworth slips it through to Browning. Brown centres it into the circle. Cut out by Damon for New Zealand. Back there is Parkin as well, and the New Zealanders once again clear from their circle. Charlesworth for Australia. New Zealand trying the long ball up the centre, which they've done occasionally, but without any success so far. Play in Australian half. It's Barry Maister for New Zealand, big tall centre forward. Charlesworth takes the free hit for Australia. Works it across to Paul, back inside to Charlesworth again. But Ramesh Patel for New Zealand slips it inside him to Maister. Maister across to Christensen. Back to Ramesh Patel, laying it on for Arthur Parkin. Has he got the speed? Parkin yards from the Australian line, but unable to track the ball cleanly from the pass, and the Australians clear with the long ball up the right wing. So push into New Zealand. 5 minutes of play remaining in the first half. Still no score in the Olympic hockey final between New Zealand and Australia. Australia, who have had a large territorial advantage so far in the match, but have not been able to convert that into goals as of yet. New Zealand have not received a penalty corner so far in the match. Australia have had 3 short corners and 1 long corner. But it's New Zealand at the moment, and it's deep inside Australian territory with the push in by Einarson. Patel hitting his foot. Free hit to Australia, taken by Charlesworth. Damon for New Zealand. Parkin. Selwyn Maister playing in his 56th match for New Zealand. Maister still with the ball. Number 11 for New Zealand, Selwyn Maister at 5'4", one of the smallest players on the field. Also some short players in the Australian team, 2 of them in fact at 5'4.5". Free hit to New Zealand in the last 4 minutes of the first half. And still no score in the Olympic hockey final between Australia and New Zealand. As the ball goes over the Australian goal line from a New Zealand stick, Australia will restart from the 16-yard line. As a large Australian contingent start to chant Australia, Australia, in the hope that this final might come alive. Christensen for New Zealand. He tries to bundle his way through the Australian defence. That's Robert Haig. He pushed aside. The ball going to New Zealand. Ackley looks to push it through for Patel, and Patel has got the ball for New Zealand inside the circle. Ramesh Patel, and a long corner awarded to New Zealand as the ball goes over the goal line from an Australian stick. So coming across is the New Zealand left wing Arthur Parkin to take the corner. Here we'll see Tony Einarsson in action, New Zealand's crack penalty corner hitter. The ball is stopped by Meister. Here's the shot from Einarsson, but good defence by the Australian. Racing out, and oh, a chance for New Zealand. A chance for New Zealand wide of the net. Barry Meister can't believe his luck. Another corner to New Zealand, this time on the left wing. New Zealand with their second long corner of the match, with 2.5 minutes of play remaining in the first half. Parkin with the corner for New Zealand. Stopped by Mason. A shot once again from Einarsson. Was hit well, but it wasn't quite straight enough, and it went wide by 2 feet of the goal mouth. In the last 2 minutes of the first half, and still the teams Australia and New Zealand in this Olympic hockey final are locked at 0-0 as Charles Wood with the headband for Australia, racing down the right wing over the halfway line. Browning on his right, but nicely cut out by Alan Chesney for New Zealand, and the ball is into touch. This is John Christensen for New Zealand, trying to lay on the pass for Arthur Parkin, but the ball beats them all into touch. 10 metres from the Australian line. New Zealand pressing hard for the first time in the match, with only 1.5 minutes of play remaining in the first half. That's the score with 1 minute of play remaining in the first half. New Zealand 0, Australia 0. The free hit taken by Australia as it beats all the New Zealand players and over the goal line, and will go back to the 16-yard mark in New Zealand territory where play will be restarted. Damon for New Zealand. The long ball looking for Tuabaran on the right wing. That's Tuabaran number 3. And the Australian defence just a little slow to react on that occasion. Haig for Australia. Cross to Smith. 30 seconds of the first half remain in this Olympic final, which has been singularly unimpressive from the large crowd's point of view. A tight, scrappy match, but little in the way of fluent hockey from either side. Number 11 for Australia, Malcolm Poole. John Christensen with the long ball up the centre, wrapping one of the Australian players' feet. Free hit to New Zealand, taken by Selwyn Meister. It's Tuabaran still with the ball, but Parkin with the clearing just on the edge of the Australian circle, unable to trap the ball. There's the hooter to sound half-time. So at the end of the first 35 minutes in the Olympic hockey final between New Zealand and Australia, there's no score.
Votre attention, s'il vous plaît. Attention, please. After consultation with the members of the jury, the Fair Play Cup of the International Federation will be awarded to the Canadian team. The president of...
New Zealand playing in the second half from right to left in the white. Australians in the green tops and the yellow shorts on the left-hand side of the screen. No score in the first 35 minutes. The bully for the start of the second half of this Olympic hockey final between New Zealand and Australia. 35 minutes of the match remaining. No score in the match so far. New Zealand playing on the right in the second half from right to left. The Australians in the green tops and the yellow shorts playing on the left-hand side of the screen. And New Zealand immediately switch on to attack. Push in to Australia inside the Australian 25. Ackley for New Zealand. This is Barry Maister, number 10, the big centre forward for New Zealand, looking for Amish Patel, and a shot for New Zealand, and an incredible miss by Arthur Parkin. Goodness gracious me, the goal was wide open, and Arthur Parkin missed a certain goal for New Zealand in the opening minute of the second half, and the Australians sweep away. Over the halfway line comes Richard Charlesworth for New Zealand, laying it on for Browning, but the ball goes into touch. That's two bad misses by New Zealand. Number 4, Chesney for New Zealand. All he had to do was stop and push it into the net, and he didn't. Chesney for New Zealand with the push-in. Charlesworth with the free hit for New Zealand, and he slips the ball right through to Ron Riley for Australia into the circle, but for New Zealand is there. Selwyn Maister takes possession and decides just to push it back into touch up towards the halfway line. Play will go. Push in for Australia. Once again, it's Barry Maister laying it on for Christensen, but the ball too far ahead of him. Cut out by the Australians. Racing back is Ackley for New Zealand. This is Selwyn Maister, number 11, at centre half for New Zealand. And as he directs play once more into the Australian 25. What a sensational start to the first half. Second half, should I say, as we had the opening minutes of the first half when New Zealand missed a golden scoring opportunity. So the score remains at 0-0. Ackley from New Zealand. Ackley once more. The whistle has gone. New Zealand feet touching the ball, so a free hit to Australia. Three minutes of play have gone in the second half. New Zealand restart from the 16-yard line through Greg Damon. Free hit to Australia. Taken by David Bell. Pushes it through to Ron Riley. The hit in turn to New Zealand. Sticks by the Australians. Damon for New Zealand. 17 yards from his goal line. Selwyn Maister. Maister, who's taken a lot of time in distributing the possession he's received this afternoon. Patel on the left wing for New Zealand this afternoon. Number 15, Ramesh Patel, but tackled well by number 12 for Australia. Patel once more for New Zealand. Patel still with the ball, lays it across nicely for Christensen over the 25-yard. Barry Maister coming in, out comes the Australian goal, but a corner has been awarded to New Zealand as the ball goes into the net, and some of the crowd thinking it may have been a goal, but the whistle had gone. Obstruction on one of the New Zealanders inside the circle results in a penalty corner to New Zealand as the Australians regroup behind their goal line. John Christensen out to the left. Number 5 will hit the ball out to number 10, Barry Maister, where it'll be trapped for Tony Einarsson. New Zealand with their first short corner of the match. Stopped by Maister, the shot from Einarsson, and once again a close shave for the Australians. as the Australian goalkeeper Proctor deflects the ball off his pad, goes over the goal line in a long corner this time to New Zealand. Parkin hits the ball out, and the shot from Einarson once again, and a lot of players suddenly still on the goal as the Australian goalkeeper Proctor once again saves the day for New Zealand. So 2 driving shots from number 7. There he is, New Zealand captain Tony Einarson. But still no score on the match, which is now 5 minutes old into the second half. So a far better start by New Zealand. In their second half they looked a little bit out of it in the opening stages of the first half, as the Australians once again sweep into the New Zealand circle this time. Chesney for New Zealand, clearing the ball. The Australians, who have had no scoring opportunities at all from the field, they've had 3 short corners. They've not scored from any of those either. John Christensen for New Zealand. Over the halfway mark he goes, pushing it through for Barry Maister, but the pass was too hard, and Maister gives up the chase. And certainly there's more life about the match in the first 5 minutes of the second half. It was scrappy and tight and unspectacular play by and large in those first 35 minutes. But a bit more sparkle and a bit more edge to the play in this, the second half, with now less than 30 minutes of play remaining. New Zealand continuing to press the Australian circle. Patel for New Zealand. This is Ramesh Patel weaving his way into the circle. He's still going, and he's still at the ball at foot. And the Australians have been penalised in a short corner once again to New Zealand. That's the second one they've rung from the Australian defence in the first 6 minutes of the second half. They received none at all in the first 35 minutes of the match. Watch once again for number 7 and number 10, but it's Christensen firstly. He'll hit the ball out to Maister. Stopped by Maister, and the shot by Einarson, and it's there! New Zealand have scored through Tony Einarson. 6 minutes into the second half. It's New Zealand 1, Australia 0. Here's how the goal was scored. The third short corner New Zealand have had in 6 minutes of the second half, trapped by Barry Maister. And the powerful shot at last by Einarson got through Proctor, the Australian goalkeeper. It's New Zealand 1, Australia 0, with 28 minutes of the match remaining. New Zealand, who have had much the better so far of the second half, and at last rewarded with a goal.
Le but de la Nouvelle-Zélande, compté par le numéro 7, Tony Einarson.
Number 4, Alan Chesney, on the right half for New Zealand. The Australians sweeping on attack, realising now that they will have to change their plan just a little. Australians, who have marked the New Zealanders very hard this afternoon, but have not shown up much at all on attack. There's been very few scoring opportunities that have come the Australians' way, and the New Zealand goal has not really been threatened at all, apart from corners. Free hit to New Zealand, obstruction by one of the Australians, and a replacement appears to be in the offering for the Australians, and number 14 might be coming off for Australia. And another short corner to New Zealand. Well, it's been all New Zealand so far in the second half, which is now 8.5 minutes old. This is the third short corner New Zealand have received. So once again, the trio of Christensen, Maister and Einarson come into the limelight. John Christensen, 10 metres from the goal, on the goal line. Hits the ball out to number 10, Maister. There's Maister, trapping it with his hand, and the shot once again for Maister. No, that was close. And the New Zealanders thinking the ball may have gone over the goal line. It hadn't, in fact, and play restarts from the 16-yard line. Einarson hitting that ball awfully hard this afternoon, giving the Australians a lot of trouble from the corners. But it's the Australians and Greg Browning into the New Zealand circle. Chance for Australia. Charlesworth for Australia, but the ball has gone over the goal line. Manning safe in goal for New Zealand, watching that ball go over the goal line. The match has come alive. 26 minutes of play remaining. It's New Zealand 1, Australia 0. This is the Olympic hockey final. The team that wins this match wins a gold medal. Einarson for New Zealand. John Christensen, the whistle had gone. trapping it with the wrong side of his stick. Free hit to Australia, 5 metres inside the New Zealand half.
Le numéro 14, number 14, remplacé par, is replaced by...
Barry Meister traps it with his hand, drops the ball, pushes it across to his brother Selwyn. And beautiful play by the two Meisters and John Christensen. Over the 25-yard line, nose goes Christensen. The Australians back in defence, keeping the New Zealanders out. New Zealand ahead by 1-0 as Charlesworth over the halfway mark. Cut out by Alan Chesney for New Zealand. Pushing it down the right wing, David Bell for Australia. The push-in to New Zealand. 25 minutes of play remaining. Chesney with the push-in for New Zealand. Malcolm Poole for Australia. Pass going astray. Chesney, safe, takes the pass and pushes it wide of Parkin into touch, just outside the New Zealand 25. Irvine, nicely trapped by Selwyn Meister, is having a good game at centre half for his country. This is Poole for Australia. Patel for New Zealand. Obstruction on a New Zealand player. Damon with the hit and decides to give his team some breathing space as he just casually puts a long ball right up the right flank of the field and into touch on the New Zealand, on the Australian 25. Oh, and a chance there for the Australians. The New Zealand defence napping a little, but the Australian pushed the ball into touch. 24 minutes of this hockey final remaining. New Zealand leading Australia by 1-0. And the Australians have not yet received a penalty corner in the second half. They do receive a free hit on the edge of the New Zealand circle. Browning for Australia, worked his way past Chesney. Browning still with the ball. Good play by Greg Browning. Trouble here for New Zealand. But a free hit awarded to New Zealand inside the circle. Sticks by one of the Australian attackers. And off an Australian stick and into touch 10 yards inside the New Zealand half. 23 minutes of play remaining. Damon for New Zealand. Strikes a New Zealand player. Not allowed. Free hit to Australia. Ball for Australia. Lays it on for Robert Haig across the far side, but the ball beats them all into touch. Ackley pushes in for New Zealand. 12 minutes of play so far we've had in the second half, 23 remaining. New Zealand forward line starting to function well. Number 10, Barry Meister. Inside him, John Christensen. And behind him, Selwyn Meister at centre half. Key men in the New Zealand team. Free hit to New Zealand. This Selwyn Meister, who's had such a great game at centre half this afternoon, directing possession and keeping the Australian forward line out. Ackley to take the hit for New Zealand. Gives it across, in fact, to Selwyn Meister, just yards outside the Australian circle. Australians come away again with 22 minutes of play remaining in the match. New Zealand now 22 minutes away from a gold medal. Ackley for New Zealand. Long square pass across for Greg Browning, the right wing for Australia. He tries to crack the ball into the circle, but it's blocked out by number 6, Greg Damon for New Zealand, and the ball goes over the goal line for a long corner for Australia. Barry Meister for New Zealand. Free hit to Australia on the edge of the New Zealand circle. Parkin for New Zealand. Good play by Arthur Parkin. Trapped the ball well, cut out the Australian pass and just flicked it away into touch. And play once again in Australian half. The day starts to darken here at McGill University at the Molson Memorial Stadium as the big floodlights around the ground go on, with 20 minutes of play remaining. Ackley for New Zealand. Across to Boren, who's had a quiet game on the right wing, number 3 for New Zealand. Boren so often in so much of the play, but today he has been very quiet indeed, seeing little of the ball. But here he is in play this time. Boren for New Zealand. Tries to work his way through Haig and Morris. Ball going over the goal line. The Australian goalkeeper quite content to let the ball go over the line, and play will restart from the 16-yard line with an Australian hit. Paul Ackley for New Zealand. Back to Christensen. To Ackley again. New Zealand content, I'm sure, to stay deep in Australian territory. With now less than 20 minutes of play remaining in the match. New Zealand ahead by 1-0. Ackley for New Zealand to Christensen. An obstruction on those New Zealand forwards. A free hit to New Zealand. Ball had gone into touch, apparently. New Zealand with the push-in with 19 minutes of play remaining. Oh, nicely cut out by Barry Meister. Meister, big, strong centre forward for New Zealand. Tries to weave his way into the circle. It's obstructed. A free hit for New Zealand, taken by his brother Selwyn. Cross to Ackley, number 1, New Zealand for New Zealand, Paul Ackley. Ball has gone over the goal line. That's a long corner coming off an Australian stick. New Zealand have had a feast of corners in the second half. They've had only 1 in the first half, but they've had 3 long and 3 short corners. Parkin on the right wing for New Zealand with the corner. There's number 7. Watch that man, Tony Einarson. This time a change as Meister in turn traps it and tries to take the shot at goal. A bad shot by Meister as the Australians come away. Racing back is Alan Chesney for New Zealand, and quietly pushes the ball into touch as the Australians mount an attack. And there's some of the New Zealand crowd urging on their team. Head by 1-0. Penalty corner to Australia. A short corner has been awarded to Australia in the 17th minute of the second half. That's the first corner they've had in this half. Down by 1-0. New Zealand goalkeeper Trevor Manning with the cap. On his right, Selwyn Meister. On his left, Tony Einarson. Charlesworth. Here comes the shot from Irving. And it's wide. It's wide of the New Zealand goal. So the score remains at 1-0 to New Zealand. 18 minutes of play remaining in the hockey final here at Molson Stadium. Einarson restarts play, and New Zealand is now seemingly becoming preoccupied with the time as he just pushes the ball way up the other end of play, and play now restarts from the 16-yard line in Australian territory. Meister for New Zealand. Square ball for Ramesh Patel, cut out by the Australians. It came off Greg Browning's leg, number 4, to that pass from Ramesh Patel, and that results in a free hit to New Zealand to be taken by Alan Chesney, playing at left half this afternoon. Tony Einarson seeking to slip it through for Ramesh Patel and Barry Meister, but the ball beats them all into touch. Ackley for New Zealand, obstructed by the Australians. Free hit to New Zealand, taken by Ackley himself. 5 yards, 6 yards from the dotted line, the Australian 25-yard line, as Boren tries to get his way through a wall of Australian jerseys. And another free hit to New Zealand, 4 sticks by the Australian defender. Ackley again. Play getting just a wee bit scrappy at the moment after a fine first half of the second half, which is now 19 minutes old. New Zealand 13 and a half minutes away from an Olympic gold medal in the Olympic hockey final at the moment. New Zealand playing from right to left, leading the Australians by 1-0 as the Australians sweep into the New Zealand circle. The whistle has gone. New Zealand, who scored in the 7th minute of the second half. And the penalty corner taken by New Zealand. The goal scorer was Tony Einarson for New Zealand, and Australians have made a replacement. Coming off is number 8, Wayne Hammond. Play restarts through Greg Damon, New Zealand, as he puts the ball way up the left flank of the field and goes into touch 4 metres from the Australian 25. New Zealand in the all-white playing from right to left in the second half. With only 13 minutes of the match remaining, no score at half-time. New Zealand, who have a solid grip on this game at the moment. Alan Chesney with the push-in for New Zealand. New Zealand, who have never before, of course, made an Olympic hockey final. The best they've ever done prior to this Olympic Games was in Rome in 1960, where they finished 5th. And New Zealand at the moment becoming perhaps just a little too preoccupied with time. They're using the long ball more frequently as they push the Australians back towards their goal line. That's the Australian goal line. Once again, the New Zealanders sweep into the Australian circle, and a chance. Oh, another miss by New Zealand. Arthur Parkin, who's had a dreadful day. That's the second bad miss that he's had inside the Australian circle, unmarked. And here's how New Zealand could have easily have gone 2-0 ahead, but Arthur Parkin puts the ball wide of the Australian goal. And so the score remains New Zealand 1, Australia 0, with 12 and a half minutes of the match remaining. The push into Australia inside the Australian half. Bell for Australia, cut out by Damon. Across to John Christensen, one of the stars of the New Zealand team today. Back to Barry Meister, but he was offside and the whistle had gone. This Olympic final being played on AstroTurf, something new to world hockey, and it causes the ball to run very fast over the surface, and this makes trapping and passing that much more difficult. As Terry Walsh for Australia sends the ball into the circle, but the ball has gone wide. It's trapped nicely by Browning for Australia inside the New Zealand circle. Trouble here for New Zealand. The whistle had gone, and the Australians have been penalised for obstruction on one of the New Zealanders. The umpire awarding the free hit to New Zealand. Taken by Einarson, across to number 13, Arthur Parkin for New Zealand, playing on the left wing this afternoon. 11 minutes of the match remaining. New Zealand ahead by 1-0. Browning with the push-in for Australia, inside the New Zealand 25. Trevor Manning, who's had a quiet day in goal for New Zealand, comes out and kicks the ball clear. The Australians mounting attack once again on the New Zealand circle. And that looks like a short corner has been awarded to Australia. So, an anxious moment for New Zealand. That's the clock showing 11 minutes and 16 seconds of the match remaining as the Australians take their second short corner of the second half. Trevor Manning with the cap and goal for New Zealand. Charlesworth hitting the ball out for number 9, James Irvin. Here's the shot from the Australians. Oh, beautifully stopped by Manning. Magnificent save by Trevor Manning for New Zealand. But another short corner has been awarded to Australia, and Manning, who ran full speed at that driving shot from James Irvin, has suffered an injury. Looks as if he may well have taken the ball just above the pad, and that ball really was travelling. Trevor Manning, number 12, the New Zealand goalkeeper. 10 minutes and 53 seconds of the match remaining. The first half was a lifeless, tight, scrappy first 35 minutes, where New Zealand had one golden scoring opportunity, which came in the 6th minute of the play, when New Zealand were awarded a penalty stroke, and it was missed by Ramesh Patel as he put the ball over the net. And the Australian goalkeeper, Robert Proctor, had nothing to do, just sit and watch the ball go over the net. And then 2 minutes into the second half, New Zealand had another great scoring opportunity when Arthur Parkin was left unmarked with the Australian goalkeeper 4 metres wide of the net. But he missed the pass from Barry Meister and it went wide, and New Zealand had lost 2 golden scoring opportunities. But in the 7th minute, they scored the goal that counted from Tony Einarson. And he made it 1-0 from that penalty corner, and Trevor Manning seems to be all right. The clock has stopped with 10 minutes, 53 seconds of the match remaining. Well, it's 6:15 here in Montreal, and it's getting dark, and the floodlights have been turned on here at McGill University, just 2 blocks away from downtown Montreal, as the Australians prepare once again to take a short corner. Manning, who made that magnificent save. Charlesworth hitting the ball out, stopping it once again, and the shot, magnificent save once more by Manning in goal as the Australians once again press hard. Great play by the New Zealand goalkeeper, Trevor Manning. And New Zealand restart and breathe again. from the 16-yard line. Greg Damon restarts play for New Zealand. Tony Einarson for New Zealand to Patel. No panic at all on the New Zealand defence. This is a strong, experienced New Zealand team. Half of that side out there this afternoon played at Mexico City in 1968 in those Olympic Games, and 8 members out of the 11 in the New Zealand side this afternoon were in Munich in 1972. They're a strong, experienced side, average age of 28. So they know what Olympic hockey is all about. But this is the first time any of them have ever been in an Olympic hockey final. Australia, who won the silver medal in Mexico in 1968 when they were beaten by Pakistan in that final. The New Zealanders have looked the better of the two teams clearly in the second half after an indifferent first 35 minutes. As the Australians with the push-in. Now there's less than 10 minutes of play remaining. New Zealand still ahead by 1-0. Australian attacker tripped up and a free hit awarded to the Australians. Playing in green and gold from the left inside the New Zealand half. Slipped through to Terry Walsh on the left wing as he tries to push the ball back. It goes over the New Zealand goal line. That's gone off a New Zealand stick, so the Australians receive a long corner. 9 minutes of play remaining in the Olympic hockey final between New Zealand and Australia. New Zealand ahead by 1-0. The long corner to Australia. Here's the shot from Irving. And oh, it had beaten Manning, but on the New Zealand goal line was Greg Damon, who stopped it with his stick and pushed it into touch. That was a close, anxious moment for the New Zealanders as it had beaten Manning, but Damon was there to save the day for New Zealand as Meister comes away with the Australians throwing everything at the New Zealanders now. Patel over the halfway line. Ramesh Patel for New Zealand. The Australian defence is there. And strong play once again by Christensen as he slips it through on the left wing for Arthur Parkin. Parkin chasing hard, but the ball goes over the goal line and beats them all. And play will restart from the 16-yard line. New Zealand 8 minutes away from a gold medal. There's the New Zealand captain, Tony Einarson, and goal scorer for New Zealand. Christensen slips it through to Turbo on the right wing, who's had a very quiet day indeed. And Burren, knowing the time now of so much essence to the New Zealanders, pushes it into touch. New Zealand, of course, have not only never made an Olympic final before, they've never won an Olympic medal in hockey before. As the Australians sweep once again into the New Zealand circle, but the ball over the goal line. Restarts from the 16-yard line. Tony Einarson looking for Barry Meister. Meister finds a pass. Good play from Meister as he weeds his way past 2 Australian defenders and then pushes it into touch, just inside the Australian half. Ackley for New Zealand, but oh, a bad pass, bad push in by Ackley as he pushed it straight back into touch again. $20,000 people here watching this final at McGill University, which is the home of football in Montreal. But for the games, of course, it's where the hockey matches have been played. That's the score with 7 minutes of play remaining. New Zealand 1, leading Australia 0. Last time these two teams met was in the World Cup, Kuala Lumpur last year, where Australia demolished New Zealand by 5-0. But it's a different story this afternoon with New Zealand ahead 1-0 with 6.5 minutes of play remaining. Ackley with the push-in for New Zealand. The whistle has gone. A free hit awarded to New Zealand. Taken by Tua Burren. He leaves it alone, and coming across is Tony Einarson to take the hit for New Zealand. The ball goes over the goal line from a long ball from the Australian forward line. That's the Australian bench looking pensive and sombre at the moment as time starts to run out for the Australians. David Bell for Australia. The whistle had gone. He'd lost possession. A free hit awarded to New Zealand just outside their 25-yard line. The Australians, who have done so well at this tournament, beaten India twice and Pakistan once, and went into this final as the favourite. Browning for Australia with the push-in outside the New Zealand 25-yard line. Bell for Australia. It nicely cut out by Arthur Parkin, but trapping it with the ball hitting the wrong side of his stick, and so the free hit goes to Australia. The Australians, who have been mounting a lot of pressure on that New Zealand circle in the last 10 minutes. Chance once more for Australia inside the circle, but Tony Einarson, who's had such a marvellous day at right back for New Zealand, just pushes the ball into touch. New Zealand, who have promised so much for so long in Olympic hockey, and now they're less than 5 minutes away from a gold medal. And Arthur Parkin from New Zealand playing on the left wing this afternoon. Seems to have suffered a minor injury. Youngest member of the New Zealand team, Arthur Parkin, at 24 years of age, from Otago. This Olympic hockey final being played in front of a crowd of 20,000. And in the match for the bronze medal, earlier in the day, we saw Pakistan beat Holland by 3-2. Selwyn Meister restarts play for New Zealand. And he's quite happy just to push that ball as hard and as far as he can at the Australian line. And Australia do receive the push-in. It's 10 metres from the New Zealand line. That's Barry Meister disputing possession with Trevor Walsh. Five minutes of play, remember, remain in this hockey final. New Zealand ahead by 1-0. The goal coming in the 7th minute of the second half from a short corner, scored by Tony Einarson, is pulled for Australia. Pushes play up to the halfway line. Cut out nicely by Tony Einarson. Well tackled Einarson for New Zealand. Pulled once again for Australia. New Zealand ahead by 1-0 with 4 minutes of play remaining. And if Australia manage to score between now and full time, this match will go into extra time. New Zealand defenders crowding the Australians out of the circle. Sweeping away is John Christensen again, and the New Zealand ploy has been quite simple since they've scored that goal. Once they get possession, they just push it as hard and as far as they can towards the Australian goal line. Driving the Australians back towards their goal line, inside the Australian 25, as the ball slipped through for Trevor Walsh, but cut out by New Zealand Tony Einarson. Christensen again, looking for Meister. But Australia coming away with it. Pull for Australia, slipping it across to David Bell. Bell coming in from the right wing. Patel for New Zealand. And Patel, but badly trapped pass by Patel, and Australia regained possession. Over the halfway mark, the Australians go. Racing back is Alan Chesney for New Zealand. But a bad pass. That's how long there's to go. 3 minutes and 20 seconds left in the Olympic hockey final between New Zealand and Australia, as the Australian left wing was tripped up badly by one of the New Zealanders there. That could result in a short corner. It has, in fact, and the umpire has awarded a short corner to Australia. So this is another crucial moment for New Zealand with 3 minutes of the hockey final left. They're ahead by 1-0. Charlesworth with the short corner for Australia. Here comes the shot from Irvine. And once again, it's wide on it, and it's there! Australia have equalised with 3 minutes of the match remaining. It is 1-1. New Zealand dispute the goal. And confusion reigns inside the circle at the moment. And it appears Tony Einarson may have been injured. Let's wait for the umpire's decision. It appears that it's no goal. The Australians are upset. The New Zealanders have appealed against the decision originally, and their appeal appears to have been upheld. 2 minutes and 31 seconds of the match remaining. It appears that the Australian who hit the ball, James Irvine, has had his goal ruled out for dangerous play, his stick going too high in the air. And so play restarts from the 16-yard line. What a match. New Zealand remain ahead by 1-0 with 2 minutes of the hockey final left. So the Australians again pushing towards the New Zealand circle. Sticks flying in all directions as New Zealander Paul Ackley loses his stick in the melee in the circle. The Australians again. Patel for New Zealand, Meister for New Zealand, slips it across to Arthur Parkin. This is Parkin racing down the left wing. He's got Patel looming up on the inside. Parkin still going with the ball. Can he lay it back for Patel? He has done. Patel losing possession to the Australians inside the circle. And the Australians again coming away with it with 1 minute 45 seconds of the match remaining. Chesney for New Zealand. Across to Barry Meister, number 10, the big, tall, 6'13" centre forward for New Zealand. The ball has gone into touch. The Australians desperate for that goal that will equalise, that will put the match into extra time. Chesney for New Zealand. New Zealand's most historic moment in hockey. Is it just a minute away? The Australians have other ideas as they sweep back on attack once again. Pull for Australia. The New Zealand defence is holding out at the moment with a minute of the match remaining. New Zealand ahead by 1-0. A free hit to Australia just outside the New Zealand circle. Greg Browning, that's how much is left. 57 seconds of the match remaining. The Australians pushing at the New Zealand goal. And a short corner has been awarded to Australia with 50 seconds of the match remaining. So the Australians receive another chance to put the match into extra time. New Zealand ahead by 1-0. This could be the final act of the match if Australia miss. If they put the ball in the net, we'll go into extra time. Here's the shot. And wide of the net. It's wide, and the match may be safe for New Zealand as play comes back to the 16-yard line. Now less than 30 seconds of the match remaining. New Zealanders throwing their arms in joy as they see the ball from the Australian stick go wide of the net. 18 seconds of the match remaining. New Zealand ahead by 1-0. 15 seconds from a gold medal. Australia with their last chance. A desperate effort by the Australians. Into the circle they go. Ball has gone into touch, and now the match just about at an end. Wait for the hooter. The match is all over. New Zealand have won the gold medal. They have beaten Australia by 1-0. The scenes of jubilation amongst the New Zealand team, looking more like a Sunderland soccer team after having won the FA Cup. But that's a gold medal New Zealand have just won. There's Tony Palmer with the white hat, the manager of the New Zealand team. Number 5, John Christensen. And the reserves in the New Zealand team, Les Wilson, the substitute goalkeeper. Greg Damon waves to members of the New Zealand contingent here to watch this hockey final. The New Zealanders can't believe it. They were 5th in Melbourne in 1956, 5th again in Rome in 1960, 7th in Tokyo in 64, 7th again in Mexico City in 68, 9th in Munich, and 1st in Montreal in 1976.